machine does not die before the end of this class, before 9 p.m., it will definitely die before 9 p.m. But nevertheless, yeah, we'll see where we can get to. I don't really have too much power. So today we'll be looking at frames. Initially, I thought that I'll probably do a theory and I'll just walk you guys through everything and like just a brief description of what we are supposed to take a look at because I don't have much power. But then I decided to like use the remaining juice I have left on my machine to take this class and see how far we can go. So today we are starting from frames. So when we are talking about frames, what does frame entails? These are like what we use to containerize our designs. You know, the Figma canvas as it is kind of very, very broad. There might be instances when you have multiple structures, multiple components, multiple objects spread across your canvas. But a way in which they can actually be grouped together is through the frames. So the way frames are structured in Figma is actually in a very nice way. And if okay, my Figma what's it called app is coming up shortly, so I'll be able to show you what I mean. So the way the Figma frame is created is actually very wonderful and very awesome, such that there are there are already made frames for different user interface, different boards. Let me call it as boards. So like say for our iPhones, our desktop screen, our mobile screen, our Android screen, there are different frames for them that are already predefined on Figma. So it makes design easy when we are actually using this tool, using Figma as a tool. So when we are looking at frames in Figma, why do we need frames in Figma? Number one reason is that frame helps to keep our work organized. Frame makes it very, very easy for us to have our work, our projects arranged in such a way that everything will not be scattered. Another thing is that frame helps in scaling and adjusting our designs responsibly. Say like you want to work with constraints and apply your constraints to your components or your designs. When you have them in a frame, it makes it easy to structure your design. So I'm still waiting for my Figma to come up. Apologies, it's taking this long. Then the other tool that we'll be taking a look at is the pen tool. The pen tool is a tool that we can actually use to create custom designs, like with different curves. Like they are not standard shapes like our circle, our ellipse, our star, like all those common tools, all those common shapes rather. So um, the pen tool makes it easy to create all these custom shapes and all, and it makes it easy to just combine things together and also edit an object like right up to the different nodes that we have inside that object. So Figma has this object edit tool that in which you can actually like click on a particular object or shape and access different nodes on that particular shape. Then with your pen tool, you make adjustment to different nodes, you get different curves. Some are smooth, some are sharp, depending on how you want it and how you want to draw it. So let me bring up my screen to show you. All right, so this was what we were using to like play around yesterday. So starting over from our frames, this is the icon for our frame tools, the one in which my mouse is hovering upon now. So this particular drop down, like I said yesterday, is an indicator that there are a couple of other tools. They are known as region tools. So they are used to like containerize stuffs. So we have the frame tool, we have the slicing tool here as per you have the slice tool. So the slice tool, what you can actually use that one to do is to cut a particular shape into different dimensions. So, but we are talking about the frame tool here today. So for that frame tool, let me just delete these existing frames so that we'll have a plain artboard. So for that frame tool, like I said, once you select your frame tool and you look at this right hand side, you will see this design tab, the prototype tab, the inspect tab. Under the design tab, when you come down to phone, you see different dimensions for phone, different dimensions for tablets, different dimensions for desktop, for presentations, for watch, for paper, for social media, etc., etc. So like if you are not, let us assume that you are creating a design for a web application, which like as a designer you are supposed to like make it responsive, like give the responsive design for how it's going to appear on the desktop, on the tablet, and on a mobile device. So you can actually start from desktop, pick any desktop what's it called, desktop screen size that you want to work with, probably the desktop or iMac or MacBook Pro 16 or MacBook Pro 14 inches, whichever one you want to work with. So let's say I'm working with desktop. Automatically, as I select that frame, it is just going to like drop it on my canvas, and you see this what's it called, this frame here automatically placed on your canvas. So I did mean you want to do the one for mobile. So like come back to your frame, and let's say for tablet, then you select any tablet dimension that you want to work with. Let's say I'm going with iPad Pro 11 inches. So you have a tablet frame that is already set here. Let's say you now want to like find, let's say you want to find a frame for mobile or for small and medium screen phones. Then you come to your phone section, and you see different screen sizes, one for iPhone, one for Android, both small and large. So, and the beautiful thing here is that it's not just about like, I think I've actually seen some couple of design tools in which the most prominent frame, what's it called? Can you guys still see my screen, please?
No.
Oh wow.
It.
No, I can't see you.
Everybody should be seeing my screen now, right?
I can't see it. Oh, it's blank.
Oh, hold on.
It's up, but
Okay. It's up now.
All right, cool. All right, so as I was saying, so say you need another frame for mobile screens. So we have different dimensions here. The one for iPhone 13 Pro Max, iPhone 13 Pro, iPhone 13 mini, iPhone 13 mini, 11 Pro Max, 11 Pro X. So whichever frame that you need, just select that one. So let's say I'm going with iPhone 13 Pro Max, selected that one, and you see it comes up on my screen here, ASAP. So another thing that you can actually do is that all these frames that we've selected, you can see the desktop, the iPad Pro, and the iPhone 13 Pro Max. We can actually rename them such that it is not going to be desktop, iPad Pro, or whatever default name it is given. So for you to rename your frame, all you have to do is just come to this left side here. You see it listed under your layers. So you can now just double click on a particular one to enter the name. Let's say desktop screen. So then for this one, you can also right click for other menus, and you see some couple of other options that you can do with the frames. So can just come to like rename tablet screen, and rename mobile screen. All right, so the order in which these frames and other graphics objects that we have on the screen are arranged on this left hand side, in this tab, is going to determine their hierarchy and how they come over each other, how they appear over each other or at the back of each other on the canvas in totality. So if we are like working with the whole canvas, like you can actually zoom and zoom out to a very like to a very high extent. Like the limit of the zoom is actually like very, very high. It's not till infinity, but it is quite something. So when you have your frame structured properly, and you have your frames on your board like this, say you want to go to a particular design, you can actually come to mobile and you see your mobile highlighted. You can come to desktop and you see the desktop highlighted. You can come to tablet and you see the tablet highlighted. So that's one of the things that's one of the beautiful thing about frames. Then another thing I would like to show you is the way in which each of these frames cut out their bleeding edges. So let's say I have another shape. Let me bring in a rectangle. Let me put the rectangle inside my desktop screen. Let me give it a border radius of 50. It's not too much, not be too much. All right. So now, if you look at the hierarchy as it is placed on the left-hand side here, you discover that this rectangle is inside this desktop screen. That is the hierarchy, the way in which it is arranged. So if I close this drop-down icon now, you see that the what is it called? The children of that particular frame is closed on the left-hand side. So the thing with the way it works is that for every child, for every object, for every shape that is inside this particular frame, if you attempt to bring it out, you discover that it cuts out the bleeding edge. No, just the way the name sounds, frame. When you are framing something, you are kind of like applying a border to it. Take for example, you look at a very beautiful picture that you've taken. You said you wanted to frame that kind of picture. You know, that means that whatever it is that the picture is, however it is going to be, it is always going to take the shape of the frame in which it is placed inside, and you will not see a portion of your picture going outside of the edge. So in this case too, no matter how hard you try to like shift this thing to the edge, it will always crop it out unless you move the shape out of that particular frame entirely. And by the time you move it out, if you look at your left hand side again, you discover that this rectangle is no longer inside desktop screen. It's coming out as a single layer of its own. So yeah, that's another thing too. You can actually drag these things inside each of these frames for them to be inside each other. So I have to bring this thing to the center, to the frame, for you to like see it. So another thing to also make mention of is that all other screens can actually be a child of another screen. Let's say I want to design a small component like that, probably a button component. So if I'm designing a button, let me just duplicate this particular design. So, and I do Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. Let me just change this to button. Can never be this big. So I'm going to like reduce the height. I can come to the properties, to the design tab on this right hand side, or sides to like bring it down to reduce the height. But let me just reduce it to something like 100. So now I have a button that looks like pew. Let me add some couple of colors to make it look lively. All right. So let's say I want to use this as my button, right? As my button component. It is without a text now. I should have probably add the text to like make everything. Let me even add the text. So I'm increasing my, it's 20. Okay, it's dimension with which I'm working. All right, so okay, this is just something so simple and so basic. So I have a text called my button, and I have another button, a rect of them. For you to select two items, hold down your control key, select two items. I can just right click on this and make it a component. Just do create component. It turns this particular item here to a component. If I come to my asset, I should see it listed on my local components. This is component one, my button component. So yeah, now I have a button component here, right? So the beautiful thing about this thing is that I can actually like probably create, let me create a custom, let me call it my button frame. Now I can either move this component inside this one or like come to this asset layer and just use like a component from my, what's it called, just like creating a child from that main component. All right, so I have my button frame and I have my button inside my button frame. So to make this thing look better, let me just remove the white background of this frame. The fill is going to be very, very transparent, 100%, so it does not have any background. So now I've turned this particular component, I've used this particular component inside a frame. I can now bring this button frame inside this desktop screen. If I want to delete this one, okay, let me bring this to view so that you can see it. Yeah, okay, this is the first one. Let me, all right, so now you discover that this is a button. A button was created as a component. That component was placed inside a frame. Now that frame is now placed inside an original frame. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that you can actually have a frame inside a frame, and it will actually treat every frame that is in it just like every other frame. When it attempts to go out, it will bleed it out and crop it out, etc., etc. So yeah, I think that's that about that. Every other thing about using frame is just like applying some couple of properties and attributes that you have on the right hand side, which involves you adjusting the border radius of your desktops of your frame, or you setting the height and width if you want to do so manually. And another thing that I failed to make mention, let me quickly do that, is that your frame is a wonderful tool for you to actually like bring out some wonderful designs. Take for example now, I can just go ahead and change this one to something like, let me just use, okay, let me rotate this one by 45 degrees. No, that's too much. 500 by 500. Okay. So let me just, okay. So let me duplicate this rectangle and bring it down here as well. All right. So normally if I want to like create a particular shape or object that looks like this, I will probably have to create my rectangle, then use the slice tool to cut some part out before it becomes a shape that looks like this particular shape here, like this one that is at the edge, that I place at the edge. Or I use my pen tool to draw out each portion one by one. Now this one is going to take a whole lot of time. So one of the things that you can actually use to like bring out wonderful structures and dimensions in your design is the frame. Is the frame. So that's that about using your frame. So another tool I would like to talk about this evening is the pen tool. The pen tool. So where do you get access to your pen tool? You can either do that by pressing P on your keyboard. You see my mouse cursor has changed to something that looks like a pen. Or you come to this toolbox that is at the top. This very fourth one, the second one is the frame, but the fourth one here, this is where you have your pen tool. So under this pen tool, there's a couple of other drawing tools that you see there. We have the pencil tool, we have the pen tool. So what you can use these things to do is to draw. You can use it to draw shapes, like custom shapes, very custom shapes, like things that you can probably not do with your shape tools, like what you have in your rectangle, your line, your arrow, your ellipse, like things that will be very, very difficult to do with those tools. You can do them with your pen tool. So another usefulness of pen tool is that if you have a solid shape like this rectangle, let me duplicate it and put it in the center. Let me duplicate and put in the center. I remove the rotation. So let me just add this one to the 70. All right. So this one that I have here, the pen tool can actually, it gives us the capacity to edit this tool as an object. What do I mean by as an object? By the time I double click, I go into edit mode. Or if I select this tool, there is this edit mode that is like one of the toolbars that is at the top. This one I'm moving my mouse over, the one with a four, what's it called? That's the edit object item. So by the time you select that one, it goes into the edit mode. You can now pick each of these nodes and adjust it. You can skew, you can transform it to different dimensions. And apart from that, you can pick any point between two lines, between a single line, and add a new point and like bring out another dimension and just give it another shape. That's how wonderful the pen tool is. Oh. So another thing you can do is you can make a particular point or curve very smooth. Initially, what we have with this thing is actually like our border radius here, our border radius here, but not too much border radius here. So if we go back into that edit mode, we can actually pick a particular node and make it smooth, either by double clicking on it. Sorry. We can make it smooth either by holding our what's it called? Sorry, by holding our control key or command key, be it whichever machine you are using, and just select that particular node. So it becomes smooth, it becomes a bezier curve. Yeah, that's what it's called. Or another way to do it is, you see this third edit tool, what is it called? It's called the bend tool. By the time you select that one and you click on the node that you want to bend, it applies the bezier curve to that particular node. So you can now proceed to adjust the dimension in which this node is going to like curve, the length of the curvature, and now it is going to shape. So before you know it, you've created, like, I don't really have anything in mind when I'm drawing this thing, but like it is more or less looking like a gamepad or probably like a Batman logo or something. So yeah, before you know it, you've created shapes of different dimensions. You've created shapes of different structure. So the same way you can apply different properties to this thing, like your width, your height, your position on the x-axis, the border radius, this applies to everything here. So the wonderful thing here is that you can as well take each of these nodes and apply specific specific properties and attributes to it. So this particular node, now I want to change the border radius, which was 50 initially. Let me reduce it to 10. So it's not going to be very, very evident because it's using a bend, but it has been changed to 10 as per the properties that we have here. Okay, my battery is going down. All right, so that has actually done well enough. So yeah, another thing that the pen tool can give you is the capacity to paint different sections of a particular shape differently. So let's say, let me try and see what can I do. Um, um, okay, yeah, beautiful. All right, let me let me rotate this shape. Let me rotate this shape. Um, 180. All right, it's kind of looking like a fake hourglass. Let's just take it like that. So yeah. Okay. Nah, this is not what I wanted to do. Okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. Yeah, exactly. So another thing that the pen tool can do for you is the capacity and the ability to like paint different parts of a party of a single shape or object with different colors. So if you like, if you look at my fake hourglass now, let me call it my fake hourglass because I did not really put too much effort into making it something substantial. Oh, sorry, I'm almost destroying this thing. Down. All right. So you see that the lower portion is having this gray color and the upper portion is having this reddish brown color. So the capacity for you to take a particular segment of a particular shape and object and just be able to give you that manipulation, that in-depth control to give you that access. That's what the pen tool can do for you. So there are so many pros and cons about using the pen tool. But as you get to play around with it, as you get to like maneuver and try to like create stuff with it. You can actually pick a random image from the internet or a random icon and try to use your pen to shape it out for you to see how far you can get with this thing. Then don't forget that as you are drawing with your pen tool and maybe you discover this thing is quite rough and it's not giving you the perfect what's it called that you need. Just use the bend tool to adjust the curvature and apply some nice curve to it, and you get some wonderful effect. So, all right, so that's about making use of frames and pen tool today. And I'll be drawing the curtain on the class for today here. So while I give room for questions. Any questions, please?
Please, I want to ask a question. I was not here yesterday. Which
Okay.
app are you using for this stuff?
All right, we are using the tool called Figma. Figma. And for the benefit of those that are not available yesterday, there's a recording for yesterday's class, which will be made available hopefully by tomorrow. I've been very, very occupied and busy. I know I've not really had time to like, make put the video on the public domain for it to be accessible by all. But it should be ready by tomorrow. All things being equal. So the tool is Figma, Sha. And if you are like looking forward to get started before tomorrow, just go to figma.com. It's as easy as that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So, any other question?
Yes.
Okay, what's your question, please?
I tried to install the Figma app,
Okay,
but it was only requesting signing in.
like whenever you open it, right?
Yes.
Okay. The thing is that your Figma app, it is working like how will I put it? A browser-based application. The Figma app is actually built with a JavaScript framework known as Electron. I cannot be going into the nitty-gritties because this is not really a technical or engineering session. So, but nevertheless, all you need to do is to just make sure that okay, my battery is running low. Is to make sure that you have a Figma account, and you can do so by going to figma.com, register for a Figma account. You can register with your Google Mail or register with your preferred email. I covered that particular part also at the beginning of yesterday's class. So once you are registered, you can actually like go back to your app and sign in. And when they click on sign in, the sign in is going to redirect you to your main browser, probably Chrome or Firefox or whichever one that you use, so that you sign in on the browser, then it will redirect you back to the app. And that's why it's like browser based. Even if you go to figma.com and you can actually use it on your browser because the interface on the browser, it is the same thing as the one that you have on your app. So I'm opening figma.com on my browser now, and this is the home page. If you compare it to the home page here on Figma, you will discover that it is, oh sorry, my screen is up. Let me quickly present so that you see what I'm referring to. Okay, this is the browser. This is me at figma.com, and it directed me to the, like, I'm signed in as bolu.akinsefunmi at gmail.com with my official email address. So you have this entire layout, some couple of projects on the left hand side and some menus, your draft coming in into play. Like these are like designs that you've actually like lay your hands upon before. Then you can import some couple of stuff and everything. We covered this part yesterday too. Like I tried to explain this user interface as well yesterday. So this particular user interface is the same as what you get on the app, which is the Figma application that is running on my machine. It is the same interface. So even if you open any design on Figma in the browser, say I'm opening this Figma interface, and it is actually showing me that it was last edited in 2 minutes ago, you will see that the user interface that you are also going to get is going to be the same as what you have in your Figma application, which is this. So this is what I have in my browser, right inside my browser. And this is what I have on my application. So whichever one even if you are finding it difficult to like make use of the application on your machine, okay, my computer is going off very soon. Yeah, that's it. All right. So even if you are finding it difficult to like make use of the what's it called, your machine, you can just like right away use the one in the browser. Just make sure that you register an account with Figma, and you are good to go. So that's that about that. Any other question?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. In the absence of any question, I'll be drawing the curtain on the class today. So it's been a wonderful time with you. See you all again tomorrow by 8 p.m. Might probably have like maybe one more session or thereabout before I give out an assessment or a classwork or something or an assignment. But nevertheless, we make the video for yesterday's session and today's session. Hopefully, the video will be wonderfully recorded before my computer went down. Hopefully, oh, but I will check it when I have power, and I will make it available by tomorrow by the special
By the
grace of
special
God.
grace of
So,
God. So, sorry, please, I have one question. I'm so sorry.
all right,
All right,
boss, what's your
boss, what's
question,
your
sir?
question, sir? Okay, good evening, everyone. I just want to know this Figma of 18. Can you replace a current draw?
You're asking if it
You're
can
asking
replace
if it
current
can
draw.
replace current draw? Yeah.
All right,
All
current
right,
draw,
current
like I
draw,
said
like I said
yesterday,
yesterday,
it's a
it's
graphic
a graphic
tool,
tool. Okay.
and
And
Personally, my own personal opinion, I think
I
it is
think it is limited to um
designing
designing
graphics.
graphics.
Okay.
I don't want to
I
just
don't want
call
to
it
just call
image
it
alone
image alone
because there
Okay.
are some
because
couple
there are
of
some
object
couple of object
manipulations and
manipulations
document
and document
manipulations too
manipulations too
that you can do
that
with
you can do
CorelDRAW.
with CorelDRAW.
Take for
Okay.
Take
example
for
now, you
example
can
now
add
you can
a
add
couple of
some couple
PDFs
of
and
PDFs
import
and
them in
import them in
CorelDRAW,
CorelDRAW.
Yes.
but you cannot
Or you
import
cannot
PDF
import
in
PDF
Figma.
in Figma.
Okay. So
Figma is
everything.
Figma is
primarily
primarily
designed
designed
to make
to make
web design, web and
web
application
and
design
application design.
Okay.
in
In
general, product
general,
design
product design
to make
Okay.
it
to make it
seamless.
seamless.
Okay.
I can also
I
highlight
can
some
also
things
highlight
that
some
Figma
things
can
that
do
Figma
that
can do that
CorelDRAW cannot do.
CorelDRAW cannot do.
Okay.
And that's because,
And
like,
that's
as
because,
far
like,
as the
as far as
latest
the
version of
latest
CorelDRAW that I can
version
use,
of CorelDRAW that I can
you
use, you
cannot do a
cannot do a
prototype
prototype
on
on
CorelDRAW.
CorelDRAW.
Okay.
Had it been
Had
my
it been
machine
my
is still
machine is
on, I
still
would have
on, I
probably
would have probably
played what a
played what a
prototype looks like.
prototype looks like.
Okay.
A completed
A
prototype
completed prototype
actually
actually
simulates the action
simulates
of the
the action
user.
of the user.
There's a
Okay.
particular
There's a
place on
particular
Figma
place
that
on
you can
Figma that you
click
can
on
click
play.
on play.
So, and
Wow.
as you
So, and
click
as
on
you
this
click on
play,
this play,
it is going to
it
take
is
you
going
the
to take you
process
the
of
process
what is
of what
expected
is
to
expected to
happen
happen
when the user
when the
clicks a
user clicks
particular
a particular
button
button
over a
over
particular
a particular
item,
item,
Okay.
select a
particular
particular
object on the screen,
object on the screen,
Wow.
as well as the
as well as the
transition from one
transition
device
from
to the
one device
other,
to
from
the
one
other,
page to
from
the
one
other.
page to the other.
Hmm.
I am
I
a
am
thousand
a
and one
thousand and
percent
one
sure that you
percent
cannot do
sure that
that
you
with
cannot do that with
CorelDRAW.
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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So
secondly,
So,
okay.
okay.
Thank you very much. My second question is that this Figma of it, can I work on it as a offline, or do I need to kind of connect the internet?
All right. If you
All
have
right,
the
if you
app
Is
have
it
on
the
your
offline
app
or
on
machine,
your
online?
machine,
if you have the
if you have
machine
the
and the app on
machine
your
and the app on
machine,
your machine,
you can
Okay.
work
you can work
offline.
offline.
Okay. Okay.
And whenever
And
you have
whenever you have
internet,
internet,
it will sync
it will
your
sync
file
your
and
file and
everything to
everything
the
to the
online server.
online server.
Okay.
But if you want to
Okay.
be
But if you
using
want
the
to be
one in the
using the one in the
browser,
browser,
Okay.
it means you
it
must have
means you must
internet
have
for every time
internet
you
for
want to
every time
use
you
it.
want to use it.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
but
Is there a
for one
space
thing
for
I know,
option? Is it optional? Maybe if I want to download it, is it going
yes,
to ask me
Yes.
question about that?
no, it's
No, it's
not.
not. But
When you are
when you are
downloading it,
downloading
you are
it,
expected to
you are
like
expected to
have
like
internet on
have
your
internet on
machine
your
to
machine
download
to
it and to
download
set
it
it
and to
up.
set it up.
Okay.
After the initial
After the initial
setup,
setup,
whatever it is you
whatever
want to
it is you
do
want to
after
do
that
after that
is
is
offline.
offline.
Okay.
Yesterday I made
Yesterday
mention
I made
about
mention about
plugins.
plugins.
So
Okay.
probably
So
when we
probably
release the
when we
video for
release the
yesterday's
video for
session
yesterday's
and we go
session
over
and
it,
we
you
go
will
over it,
understand
you
more
will
about
understand
it.
more about it.
Okay. I
You might
really
not be
You
able to
might not
appreciate
be
use
it.
able to use
some
some
plugins if you are
plugins if you
offline
are offline
because
Okay.
those
because those
plugins depend
plugins
on
depend on
third-party
third-party
applications for their
applications
operation.
for their operation.
Okay. Okay.
So, but
So, but
your
your
Sigma operations,
Figma
you want to
operations,
like
you want to like create to
drag and
drag
drop,
and drop,
adjust width
adjust
height, and
width
some
height
couple of
and a
attributes
couple
and
of attributes
properties.
and properties.
You can do
You
those
can do
offline.
those offline.
Okay. Okay.
But you kind of
But you
like
kind of
enjoy
like
the
enjoy the
experience
experience
with you being
with you
online.
being online.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
All right, I
All
believe that
right.
will
I
be the
believe
end
that will
of
be the end of
our session for
our
today.
session for today.
Okay.
Thank you all for
Thank
showing
you all
up.
for showing
Thank you for
up.
coming.
Thank you for coming.
Okay,
See
thank
you
you
all
very
See you
tomorrow.
all
much.
tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.